wondered why a perfectly planned well with the right equipment, the right crew, the right budget still ends up losing days underground? Today's conversation is going to change the way you think about drilling forever. Welcome to the Napier YP Energy Pulse. I'm your host, Orolua Belu, and this is where we go beyond the PowerPoint, beyond the jargon, beyond every other industry technical words, and we have the kind of raw, real conversations that actually move our industry forward. We are live here in Lagos, Nigeria, so if you're watching from your laptop, from your phone, a rig somewhere offshore or even onshore, welcome, you belong here. Before we meet our guests and speakers of the day, I want to give a moment to today's sponsor because Chevron isn't just a name on a banner. They are a 140-year-old energy company with fingerprints on this industry that goes deeper than most of people realize. And I have 3 fun facts about Chevron that I guarantee will surprise you. Number 1, most people think oil and gas when they hear Chevron, but the company operates one of the largest geothermal power facilities on Earth. The geysers in Northern California, which has been producing clean, renewable electricity since 1960, which is 66 years of green energy. Before solar panels were cool, before wind farms were fashionable, Chevron was already there, pulling heat from the earth and turning it into power for millions of homes. The energy transition is not a future plan for Chevron, it is part of their DNA. Chevron has been in Nigeria longer than Nigeria has been independent. Through Chevron Nigeria Limited, the company began operations here in 1913. That is 47 years before Nigerians' independence. They were drilling in the swamps of the Niger Delta before there was an NNPC, right even before there was a NAPE, and before most of our parents here were born. Their history in this country, it's an old book and not just a chapter. And they are still here, still investing, still hiring Nigerians to lead major technical operations. Chevron is one of the largest investors in carbon capture technology, and nobody barely talks about it. While the world debates the energy transition, Chevron Technology Ventures has been quietly funding and patenting carbon capture, blue hydrogen, and advanced biofuel technologies for over 20 years. They've backed startups, partnered with universities, and built pilots in labs and fields. It's a masterclass in doing the work before making the announcements. Respect. All right. Now, you know who's back in today's event. Let's meet the person who's going to make the next 10 minutes genuinely worth your time. Our moderator today is our chairman, also known as Dr. Jide Olufuyi, FNAPE, the managing director and the CEO of LOJ Engineering Consultants Nigeria Limited, and a fellow whose career trajectory is basically a masterclass in how to build something that lasts in this industry. Good afternoon, Dr. Jide. You're welcome to NAPE Energy White Peoples.
Yeah, good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, sir. Could you kindly introduce yourself and give us like a little brief on how your career has transitioned over the years back, sir?
Okay, thank you very much. That's a difficult one because I've had a very, very interesting career ride. Yeah, I graduated first degree in geology and applied geophysics from Ondo State University, Ado Ekiti, now called Ekiti State University. Then I had my master's degree and PhD from the University of Port Harcourt in petroleum geology. You know, I started out in the industry as a mud logger with Krager and Associates. That's so many years ago, close to 40 years ago. And yes, we did mud logging, formation evaluation, and all that. From there, I forayed into core resination. I did some core resination. I did some biostratigraphy and did some well sitting as well. You know, I sat on so many Niger Delta wells. Then from there, I moved on to a company called Core Laboratories Nigeria Limited. It's actually a multinational company with companies in different parts of the world. We were into laboratory services for core analysis and PVT. So I did all that with some geochemistry. I sold geochemistry to different parts of the industry, basically organic geochemistry. Then from there, I forayed into reservoir studies. I did reservoir studies with Pioneer Alpha Petroleum Services, and I rose all through in that company to eventually become the general manager. I left that company in 2011 and started my own company, LOG Engineering Consultants. And we basically have been into reservoir studies. That's what we do today.
You've had such a quite interesting career, sir. And for someone who has walked through different paths and a respected industry leader, what changes have you observed in the energy industry over the years, sir?
Okay, that's a good one. The energy industry has seen a lot of changes. We started those days when, if you take seismic interpretation, for example, we saw the era of 2D
Yeah.
and they went to 3D. Today we're looking at 4D, and all that changed. Even mud logging those days, we went from the old conventional units. I remember when I started out in mud logging, we used hand to draw logs. Some of those beautiful logs you see today drawn by printers, we were Leroying. We used our hands to draw the logs. All that improved. If you go to drilling operations, you will see we saw the regimes of mud weight sensors, where those days you see the old floater systems. And before I left mud logging, we saw the sonic probes. So many things have changed. Environmentally, a lot of things have changed. A lot of attentions are given to the environment today. Even in the core oil and gas sector, you will see changes with the way things are done. A lot of uncertainties were carried those days. A lot of these uncertainties have been mitigated today with more studies. We had so many data, people have worked on so many data and reworked them to the point where today a lot of improvement has come in. If you talk generally, apart from oil and gas, if you talk of the energy sector, today we're talking about carbon emission, we're talking about solar, we're talking about wind energy. A lot has happened in the industry, but I'll say all for good.
Yes.
But then today is founded on the yesterday. Yeah.
That's a good one. So I can also testify to the involvement of the industry, especially with the invention of technology. And that brings me to the next question. So with the industry evolving rapidly, where do you see the biggest opportunities for young professionals today?
Okay. For young professionals, I would say it's still in the oil and gas sector, except that now the geology of today is slightly different from the geology of the yesteryears. You need to bring in a lot of technology. You need to bring in AI. You need to um, find your own niche. You don't want to just be a YP that is a geologist everywhere. You need to pick out your own area. Do you want to be a petrophysicist? Do you want to be a geomodeler? Do you want to be even a reservoir engineer? Some geologists train to be reservoir engineers. Or is it seismic interpretation that is going to be your strength? You need to carve out your own niche area and develop, not just be a Nintendo geologist, but you want to sit down and understand your craft, bring your knowledge of geology into the evolving technology of today, and see how you can do things better. Because today, with technology, a lot of things are changing. But then, if the input into whatever technology you're using is not right, technology will fail. So your geology, you have that, begin to evolve from that into greater things.
Thank you
Okay.
very much for that beautiful answer. And it just means that, in summary, there's quite a vast opportunity for people across different departments in this industry. So, sir, I would like to also ask, for the benefit of people who are not here or who would be watching this later. So, what practical steps can young professionals take today to remain relevant in the industry, say in about next 5 to 10 years?
Okay, good one. Basically, you need to train, you need to retrain, and you need to get retrained. Whatever we all studied in the university those days, it covers the whole gamut. But today, young professionals should, like I mentioned, find their own niche area. And when you find that, don't just sit down and play Facebook and Twitter in the office. You need to begin to train. There are so many materials, so many virtuals, so many things online that you can train with. Companies too should endeavor to train young professionals. You know, people should get trained in their area and open their minds. These days you will work with professionals, you work with people that have been there before you, but you need to ask all the right questions. And the Gen Zs nowadays, they know how to ask questions. So the older ones watching this should open their minds and please answer their questions. A lot of questions will come, answer the questions. But basically, the key thing is to train and get retrained. And that brings me to the point, what is going on in our industry. I do reservoir studies, and I have seen in the last 15 years, I've seen a huge turnaround of young people. We bring them in, we train them for 2, 3 years. Some companies are beginning to poach them. But we are saying operators should please pick these young professionals and put them through training. Shell did this so many years back. Chevron did this so many years back. I'm pleading with operators. Pick these young people from school, train them, rather than take the ones we have trained in the service industry. We train them for 2 to 3 years. They're barely able to stand on their feet. You yank them away, and we have to begin to train new ones. A lot of discouragement for those of us in the service sector, especially in the reservoir studies world. We've trained so many people, they get taken away and they get improved upon, but with bringing in more people. But we don't have a type of resources that the majors, the small operators and the big operators, we don't have the type of resources they have. So that is why I'm making that plea. Yank them off. Anybody that graduates, liaise with associations like NAPE, like the SPE, find out these kids and begin to train them. Give them incentives to keep them. It's easier for operators, but we service people, no matter what we give them, after 2 years, they will move. And it disrupts the circle. That's the much I'll say about this. Thank you.
Oh, okay. So, in addition, so I just would like to say that as someone who we look up to, you've always told us to evolve. So that means that after training us, we also get to, or we also would like to evolve into
Oh, yeah,
the
it's a
other
good thing for
places.
the young people to move on, but we would prefer the training on the side of the operators. Yes, I like it when people move. All the people you're seeing today, we are products of one system or the other, and we've had to move to different, we evolved every day. But I know what I'm saying in terms of training. The industry should train these young people, because whatever training you had during your first degrees is not enough.
Definitely.
It's not enough. You need to retrain. People need to be involved. And the people that can really help the industry achieve this are the operators.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Jide has been able to speak to both the older professionals and we, the young professionals, and that's like a very beautiful one. The last question, but not least, is for students or professionals generally who are unable to make it to today's session, the NAPE technical meeting, what would you like them to know and remember?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, the topic today was on geologic
Productive.
non-productive time, GNPT, and it's a very interesting topic in the sense that you're saying when you drill during drilling operations, we have some non-productive times. It could be as a result of mechanical challenges, it could be as a result of safety, it could even be a logistics challenge. So we have so many MPTs. But the speaker today basically came to focus on GMPT, which is downtime on the during drilling that is related to geology, related to subsurface studies and what have you, subsurface challenges. So that's what the GMPT basically talked about. And the speaker took us through the session telling us the different types of issues that could arise and be classified as GMPT. It's basically wellbore instability, lost circulation, and the type of formation you encounter, maybe some interpretations from the office that are not in tandem with what was seen in the subsurface, subsurface changes. And by the time he took us through all that, he said systematic approach to treating this will help for effective drilling, will help for, yeah, really for effective drilling. And he said the systematic approach should be such that all the MPTs are there, but we should identify the ones that are geological. We should decouple them, then we should analyze them, see the root cause of these activities, do proper tracking, and see how we can mitigate them. So that by the time they are thoroughly mitigated, even from the office, by the time you go to drilling, you will not be seeing some of these things much as we saw them. He gave an example of a study that was done between 2015 to 2017 in Niger Delta, and where they drilled 50 wells using 3 rigs, and 17 had GMPTs. And the impact of the 17 really can be put at 131 drilling days. That's huge setback. That's a lot of money lost. But by the time they're beginning to study and they're coming with geospatial mapping, they're beginning to identify areas where these things are prevalent, and with such studies, you can correct it. So we basically talked about all this today, and we said the other operators in the industry should embrace this as well. They should do such studies for their area, whereby we can have a regional geospatial map of the industry to know that if you go to this part of Niger Delta, geosteering may be an issue. If you go to this area, well, instability may occur, and this, maybe your mud practice, the type of weight on beat you use, the type of ROPs you encountered, and how you work that along all this. If you take all this into consideration, you will be able to reduce drastically your GMPT, and that is added revenue that is a lot of cost saving for the operators. So everyone should remember this, and we're enjoying those that missed today's session to go. This the discussion is on the social media already. Go download and watch. It's a very insightful one. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Unfortunately, we couldn't have our speaker today, but Dr. Jide has done a great one in defining what today's session was all about. And you can only imagine how beautiful that session must have been. So in case you missed this, you have the opportunity of learning it from here or just watching the recap for today's recording. And finally, sir, I would like to ask.
That's your second finally.
Okay, this is the last one, sir. Is there any final words of advice you would like to give us, or we could just call it a day?
Yeah, the YPs in NAPE, the YPs in SPE, you all are doing great.
Thank you, sir.
You know, I've had the chance to be on some interview panels where I've seen some of these YPs. The things you guys are doing is great. You basically have evolved, or you are evolving from whatever you came out of school with. You are beginning to get positioned, because every time we want to sit back and look at the people that will succeed us. And I'll say, for me, you guys are great encouragement to the industry. So keep up the good work you're doing. Be focused, embrace technology, and the sky really is your limit.
Thank
So well done, and thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. If you're feeling a bit down today, or you wondered why you are in this industry in the first place, Dr. Jide is saying that you are doing well, and you should just continue to do what you're doing and be better at it. So thank you very much, sir, for coming here, and would hope to see you next time. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.